One of the things that is absolutely fundamental to confidence is a belief in safety. And having confidence in what is a free, get on the ground now! Universally available, voluntary vaccine.
As they stood up to the voluntary COVID vaccine.
Will aged care workers be required to have the vaccine?
At this stage, the answer is no. The Chief
Why
Health... that's because we're taking medical advice.
12 seconds later.
We have agreed to mandate vaccination as a condition of working in a residential aged care facility.
The Fair Work Ombudsman says most employers won't be able to force staff to be vaccinated.
And when you talk about mandating vaccines, can individual providers make that call for their own workforce, or does that really have to come from the federal government?
Look, the best advice we have is that it probably does need to come from the government, and that certainly makes it a lot easier for organisations to require their workforce to be mandated.
The next day.
Businesses have been urged to help vaccinate 70% of their employees.
The research shows that people want to see that if we believe it's safe, then that will give them greater confidence.
Now, we pointed out to you on the show last night that Anastasia Palaszczuk, who has had the ability to be vaccinated against coronavirus since February, has decided not to. Instead, she did take a jab today.
Yep.
And the media tried to pretend that this was for coronavirus. So literally now you have the photo of her getting the jab. But here's the thing. It was for the flu. She didn't have the coronavirus vaccine. She even said it wasn't a COVID shot, yet they ran it anyway. Fair dinkum. These people, it's all spin, and they want you to fall for it, and there are too many idiots in the media who want to feed you.
It's always about confidence based on safety, and confidence based on the ability to have ultimate control. We want as many Australians as possible. I would like every Australian to take this up, other than those with a medical reason which would prevent them.
How many?
But we recognise that being voluntary is the best way to do that.
A few inches later.
And that's just the way it is. We've got to accept that this is the new world order.
The Prime Minister will also be towards the front of the queue.
I'll be leading by example on that front.
Why isn't the Prime Minister getting the vaccine that most Australians will get, the AstraZeneca jab?
By sheer coincidence.
Good morning. Many GPs are refusing to offer the AstraZeneca vaccine to people under 50, fearing potential lawsuits if patients suffer side effects.
And above all else, safety, safety, safety.
The AstraZeneca COVID shot will be phased out in Australia from October.
With respect, I'd disagree.
In a significant shake-up of the vaccine rollout, GPs will be given no-fault indemnity for AstraZeneca shots for people under 60 in a boost to bid vaccination rates. Aged care workers will also be unable to refuse a COVID-19 vaccination under an agreement unveiled by National Cabinet.
An 18-year-old health worker has developed blood clots after getting her COVID vaccine. The teenager says it took 5 hospital visits to be diagnosed with the potentially deadly complication.
Fit and healthy Ellie Peacock, an 18-year-old student nurse who'd been working at Redcliffe Hospital, diagnosed with blood clots more than a fortnight after her AstraZeneca vaccination.
And again, we did weigh it up. We really did worry about this notion, but...
And that's just the way it is. We've got to accept that this is the new world order.
I don't want an 18-year-old in Queensland dying from a clotting illness who, if they got COVID, probably wouldn't die. We've had very few deaths due to COVID-19 in Australia in people under the age of 50. And wouldn't it be terrible that our first 18-year-old in Queensland who dies related to this pandemic died because of the vaccine?
Well, the TGA was unable to confirm whether it is investigating Ellie's case, but they were able to say that as of last Thursday, they are looking into 18 cases of these blood clots.
3,000 whoop-whoos later.
Good evening. A family of a much-loved northern suburbs father and grandfather are tonight rushing to be by his bedside before his life support is switched off.
But they say his situation might have been far different. If medical staff had responded to their concerns, he may have developed blood clots from the AstraZeneca vaccine.
SA Health has expressed its sincere sympathies and apologised for any distress Mr Haddon's family have about his care, saying they are welcome to discuss it further.
Older people, 70 years of age and older, who know they are just so vulnerable to getting ill and dying from this vaccine.
Meanwhile, at the Krusty Krab.
The best medical experts in the world here in Australia designed this program, running this program.
How many are you? What's the plan here? How many, as a percentage of the population, need to have the vaccine in Australia?
Well, we'd like as many as possible. I respectfully won't put a figure on it. We've provisioned so as every Australian, every
jump in the percentage of our population that is vaccinated, either fully vaccinated or at least having their first dose, is a step forward. So 10% is better than 2%, 20% is better than 10%, 50% of the population is better than where we are right now.
A lot of boring math later.
So, Professor, on vaccinations, you seem to endorse the 80% adult population threshold for reducing the COVID alarm that Gladys Berejiklian gave yesterday. Doesn't that seem unreasonably high, given that no country's got to that level? We may not ever get to that level, and also because of the very mild health threat the disease poses to anyone outside those vulnerable groups.
Look, I really just find it quite surprising to be at a press conference and have somebody suggest that there are very minor consequences to COVID-19. We still have many people dying around the world, and we've also had 4 deaths here in Australia.
You know, there's not been one community transmission that's led to death in this country all year.
Whilst the world has agonisingly lost over 2 million souls to COVID, there have been no people who have caught COVID in Australia and passed away. Well, I won't respectfully argue with the advice of the medical professionals. That's the advice they've set out. Their reasoning was based around the fact that what they didn't want to do, given that this is a new vaccine, they had no doubts about its safety or efficacy, but they didn't want to create a resistance or a backlash.
I don't care. You want the vaccine? Take the vaccine. But don't force me to take it.
Epilogue.
We must treat this new world order, this new world of COVID, we must treat this new world of COVID, even in our own homes, with a high level of care and caution.
The world is engaged in the largest clinical trial, the largest global vaccination trial ever, and we will have enormous amounts of data. But what's the message for the public? It's safe, it's effective, it will help protect you, but it will also help protect your mum and dad, your grandparents, your nonna, all of Australia.
Obviously we urge people to be vaccinated, but a key message also is just because you're vaccinated, you can still get infected and be infectious.